or Mark will probably take some questions from the audience, and then we'll go from there. So we'll just keep it up.
Cool.
Ready for anything.
Cool. Awesome. So we're live now. And I'll just start it off.
What's up? Hello, world.
hello, everybody. And hello and welcome everybody to yet another episode of Knowledge Sessions. We started doing this. If you have never attended one of these, then we started doing this a few weeks ago, actually a few months ago. And we've had several great artists come on here and talk to us about their careers, how they have navigated the music industry, what they've learned, and they've been graceful enough to share it with all the independent artists. So it's been a great avenue for musicians and people who want to get into music to just get to know what it looks like actually having done it. So and today we have with us Billy Sheehan. Thanks for agreeing, and thanks for your time, Billy, and also Francesco Di Cosmo. There's tons of bio about Billy all over the place, and music, and people have known everybody. So I won't go through the formalities of introduction because I don't think you need any introduction. I am just going to get right into it. And I've after one of the challenges with interviewing somebody or asking questions to somebody of value is after you've achieved so much, you're largely documented all over the place, and there's interviews and everything. So there's probably enough questions people have asked already about your past and how you've done it. I have a genuine question, which is my question to everybody who I term as super achievers, or people who have gone to a certain extent in their career that they've probably done almost everything that the career would typically demand. Where do you go from here? What keeps you excited? When you get up in the morning, what do you think that this is what I have to do? These are all the things that I'm going to do next.
You want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, I don't know why or how, but I'm still excited about playing, and I love it. And
that's awesome.
I get up, and if I'm driving around, I have an idea. Oh, I gotta get home to my bass and try this thing. And
so cool.
There's no limit to how much farther you can go, and how much you can know, and how much better you can be. And I'm as excited about it as when I was 16, maybe even more, because it's just a funny thing when you start young. You're young, so you don't have the kind of discipline you'll have when you're older, but you have a lot of enthusiasm. As you get older, you got the discipline, but not the enthusiasm. Well, for me, luckily, I had a pretty good discipline when I was young and a lot of enthusiasm, and now I believe I have as much or more enthusiasm, and I do have a more finely tuned discipline.
That's awesome.
So when even though I'm not performing now because of the pandemic insanity, I'm practicing my ass off and working hard and learning tons.
Man, have no ass. That's fantastic, man.
Yeah. So and there's a lot of other things to do with bass, and not only just playing bass, but music, songwriting. I'm producing a lot of things like that. But I still have a boundless ocean of enthusiasm for playing and performing. And it's not just a lot of fancy stuff. Sometimes to just sit down and the track I just recorded prior to this video, pretty basic, straight up track, which is a lot of pumping and F sharp locked in with the drums. It wasn't a lot of stuff, and those are fine too. So as I'm recording a lot more now too, that is a skill that you can improve upon.
Sure.
And I have done a lot of recording, but any skill you can, no matter where you're at, you can still improve. And so my timing is better, my understanding is better, my, being able to jump in and get through a whole track without punching in or out is much more fluid. So, so
yeah.
I'm working.
The more you do it, the more, the more easy it becomes.
Exactly. Yeah,
into that flow.
Something to be said for the balance between experience and that joy and enthusiasm when you first start at something. You hear a lot of young bands, great classic bands, and their records were done when they were 19 or 20. And those songs are still being played on the radio 30 and 40 years later. And you realize, wow, those guys were just coming out of being teenagers. And they were amazing. So there's an amazing thing that happens with young players. And then as you get older, you get fine-tuned and disciplined. And you tend to lose that excitement when you first began playing. But like I said, I'm very lucky and very grateful, and I don't know where it came from, but I'm still excited.
It comes from the
That's
great
awesome.
man. There's nothing more more beautiful than music. I mean, it's one of the great inspirations of life. I mean, and now when I hear stuff that I grew up on, which is probably a lot of the stuff that you listen to as well. Yeah. It just means more, especially if you're listening to the lyric content or really understanding the lyrics. It's like the stuff means more now than ever.
Yeah, and it's aged like fine wine in a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll go back and I've got in my iTunes, I have a lot of secret or private recordings, like of the solo vocal of a famous hit song, just the actual lead vocal, especially.
Oh man, I was just listening to Steve Perry, some of Steve Perry's stems yesterday. They're astonishing, man. They're so good. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you.
They didn't have any digital auto tune. It was them for real.
Yeah, man. And the video had to do with that, and they tried to tune Steve Perry's vocals, and it sounded ridiculous because it was perfect.
Yeah.
And when they put the auto tune on, it was like took the soul out of the vocal. It was unbelievable, man.
Yeah, they should call auto tune soul extractor.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, invasion of the soul snatcher.
So thanks for the answer, and it's great to know that the enthusiasm is still high, and that's what gets you playing. It's really a great thing to hear and get inspired from everybody who's listening. So thank you for that. I had a kind of a cue to Francesco. Francesco has a story from early on in his career of how Billy was influential in building his bass career. So I would like if you could start off with that, Francesco, and then from there, if you had questions, so you can go to there.
It's funny because that's how I ended up going to MI, because Billy did that scholarship contest in 1994. And I was listening a lot to Billy. I was listening a lot to Geddy Lee. I was listening a lot to progressive rock, Kansas, yes, and I started using a Rockman because of Billy's tone, and I couldn't get Billy's tone. I don't know what he was using. I still don't know what you were using back then, but amazing tones. But I started using a Rockman and kind of mixing that, that distorted, but musical sound in with a dry signal. And I was coming up with some really cool stuff. And that's what I sent to you as the demo. And which is really cool because it's kind of full circle, how we influence each other. And your playing is just, it's incredible. Really amazing how the dexterity that you have, and the definition of the notes, and how you approach the bass. It's really extraordinary.
Well, very kind of you, Francesco.
Oh,
I try to work a lot with other players at various stages. I'm doing some live master classes this weekend here in Nashville, and people come in just
awesome.
one-on-one. We sit down for about an hour and a half, and I get to, watch them play and make suggestions and show them some things. And the good part about it is a couple of weeks later, they'll write back to me, and I say, stay in touch, let me know how it goes. A couple of weeks later, they'll write back to me, and they've seen an improvement. They've seen
Awesome.
their enthusiasm increase, and it is actually up. And that, for me, that's the greatest, really the greatest reward
Sure.
when what you're doing affects someone else. So that if you were inspired by it at all, I'm very pleased to hear that.
Oh
And
man, yeah, and it
it's
was
just musicians.
going to MI, even though I didn't win the scholarship contest, I was one of the 10 guys that you picked, and I ended up going to the school anyway, and it was an incredible experience. Like I said, I won the vocational honors award that year, and you gave me a Yamaha bass. I went on to play with Chris Poland from Megadeth and did a record with him. I was in 2 bands with him, and then I played with Thin Lizzy, and I did Evanescence's record before that, Fallen album, and it was just and I played with Ryan. It was just Fallen.
Oh, what a great record!
Yeah, it was a really good record. It was a great experience to do.
My favorite recent record. It's really wonderful.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, you've been an incredible inspiration to me and part of my journey. So, it's
Glad to hear my
thank you for being an incredible inspiration to all of us. Really,
you're very kind. Thank you.
Oh man, I mean, it's insane, man. What you do on that thing? It's just insane.
Well, I'm working on more insanity.
Yeah, great, man. So am I.
Here, so that's the silver lining to the cloud of the whole pandemic. We can't work, and a lot of guys are in big trouble from it. But at least now we got time, because this is the longest I've been home since the 70s.
Wow, man.
The longest I have not gotten on an airplane since the 70s also. So I got a lot of time to work out on here. So that's helpful.
By the way, I saw you on David Lee Roth's tour, man.
Right.
On the first tour. Yeah, with Steve Vai.
What a ride.
That was insane, man.
It was
what
insane.
A band. I love that record too.
Thank you.
So good, man.
Amazing times.
Oh God. Yeah. Magical times. Yeah.
So I have a question, and while you guys were talking and reminiscing, I have thought of a question. I have heard a few of your interviews, and one thing was a pattern sort of emerged is how you refer to all your musical work as product, and like what you've built as a product, and how to think of it as a product, and what that means in terms of when you're creating work, to think of your work as a product, and what it means to take that product out, how it is similar to any other, like the corporate term product, how it's similar, and how you actually have to you have to do all the things that you would need to do as a product. And then that's one of the core disciplines. I think it's probably necessary for all musicians. Could you elaborate a little bit on that, like how you have, like, over several bands, several albums, what has been the recipe for success in terms?
Well, it is true that it's product. Now, the product carries that corporate commercial thing, stigma, if you will, but it's product. It's product. And I tell a lot of people, if you have a hamburger stand and the hamburgers are your product, and you want a line of people every day buying your hamburgers, you got to make a great hamburger, and you got to serve it well, and you got to, there's everything. So it seems a little silly, the comparison sometimes, but it's really true. We got to make great music that people, just like a great meal, that they want to come back and enjoy again and again. So you got to make it, it's got to be great. I always tell people, be awesome.
Yeah.
Don't be good. Don't even be great. Be awesome. Be that thing when people see you and hear you, they go, this is unbelievable. This
Yeah.
doesn't have to be fiery. It can be just a beautiful song with an acoustic guitar, with a single voice. How many times I've heard music that is so simple, one person at a piano singing, or one person at a piano with no singing, and just being able to play music that touch me, and that's the product. So you got a product that people love and affects them, and then you got to treat it like any other thing. But it's good to establish having products. When a band is together and you're rehearsing and you're doing things, your product is a song that you perform or record. Those are two different products, but still it's the same. They're based on one thing, that song. So everybody that's watching this as a musician or a painter or a writer in any of the artistic fields, you got to have a completed thing. It's got to be done. So I often say to bands and young musicians, start writing, get a song done. Or if you're not writing songs yet and you're doing cover songs, which is a great thing, you learn so much from doing cover songs. The Beatles were a cover band, Van Halen was a cover band, AC/DC was a cover band. Everybody was a cover band at one point in their life. That's a very good point. So get 10 songs, get a show. That's now your product. We do 20 songs, 25 songs. We go out. It starts at 10 o'clock. It ends at midnight, and that's your product. That show. People walk in, they see you, they hear you, they have a great night. That's your product. So, so the same rules apply. You got to let people know about it. When they come to try and use your product, they got to leave so happy that they tell their friends about it, and they post about it, and they have pictures about it, and they're so pleased that they want to come back and see you again. So no matter what it is you're doing, what kind of songs, what kind of music, jazz, EDM, death metal, classical, it all applies. You really have to do something that people are going to love. That's why getting lost in technical things, in your amp or your pedal board or all that stuff, that's all, those are your pots and pans. But the final thing is that presenting a song to people, presenting that music to people, how you got there with whatever effects and that people get too lost in that. And a lot of musicians, they flinch, they run away from that, and they get into all the things that are parts of songs, but it's not a presented final thing. Does that make sense to you, Francesco?
That's happening a lot, I think. Especially if you go on social media and you see a lot of musicians just playing a lick, like a fast lick, which is cool, but there's nothing. Sometimes there's not anything musical about it because it's out of context of a song. Exactly. And the greater picture is to incorporate these things into a great song, exactly. And which, like Billy said, is a product, even though, it touches our heart and soul. It has a spiritual aspect to it as well, but we have to produce great music, and great songs that have meaning, that have inspirational messages, or something that touches somebody, that changes their life or makes their life better, and makes them think about past experiences and make a change, whatever that catalyzing thing may be.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And similarly, you see a lot of great players online, but they're not in a band, and their product, how many clicks and likes they get, that's not. Wow, he's got 3 million likes, but he's never set foot on stage.
It's unbelievable.
And here's
yeah,
and it's cool, and I respect the skill.
It's cool. I respect anybody's talent, really, and there's some great players, but yeah, you're right. It's some people have never played on a stage for people.
Exactly.
They're just,
So I liken it to, it's like a UFC fighter of mixed martial arts, and they're filming him in the gym punching the bag like crazy. Wow, he's amazing. Look at him throw those punches. He's never been in the ring. He's never had in a fight. So the moment he does get in the ring, but he's out, and that's it's unbelievable. So I really urge guys.
That's happened to me a couple different times, man.
I urge players that you got to get that up onto the stage because it's completely different.
It's totally different. It is.
And I know you know. You sit home and you practice and you. Okay, cool. Now get on stage and do that. You know, it's way harder. You're pushing harder. The people are in front of you. The pressure is different. The sound is different. Everything is different. And you'll see generally people when they first get up on stage, they fall on their face. They fail. They get back up and they learn from it and they keep going. Just like a fighter, he gets in, steps into the ring, and the first thing he knows, he's knocked out. And he goes, you know, punching that bag was cool, but I need the experience of being in the ring. If I'm really going to be an actual fighter, if I'm really going to be an actual musician, if I'm really going to be an actual singer, I got to actually perform live in front of people for real. And that's, I'm very lucky. I'm probably over 5,000 gigs lifetime total. And all those years, in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, playing club after club after club after night after night.
That'll hone your skills, man. Yeah,
that's what did it. And now I have such an advantage that I'm very grateful for, because I did that for decades, and I'm prepared for anything now. I can bring
it on.
Like a one punch gets thrown at me. Man. And get my elbow.
Sure, and when you're live too. You're in a different world. You're in a different world. You know, when you're practicing, or writing, in the studio, it's great, but it's not the same thing. It's completely two different worlds. Yeah. You know, and you have to get used to that. You have to get used to all the variables. You know, like anything can go wrong. You know, like I've been on many gigs where you couldn't even hear yourself singing or talking. You know what I mean? Yep. And you had to just like rely on, the sound that you could hear bouncing off the walls, from the PA, you know what I mean? It's stuff like that, it's just, anything can go wrong, man. It's it's crazy.
The David Lee Roth tour before, when I would run over to the left side, my left side of the stage, and go up on the platform, I couldn't hear my amp at all.
Oh, there you go. See, same
zero. I'm playing with nothing. So I kind of had to watch and know what I was playing and play it kind of by instinct. And I'd hear tapes later and go, well, I was on. I was okay. That.
Wow, that's a trip.
But and it's funny, a lot of times nowadays you'll see young players that are, I refer to them, not derogatory, but monitor wimps. They need everything exactly all the time.
That's great.
The third tom, a little bit more of the bottom mic of the snare, and I think, man, we were up there singing and playing.
Yep.
Still singing.
Absolutely.
Three Dog Night, Beatles, 3-part harmony. We would turn the PA a little bit so we could kind of hear it on stage. Mm-hmm. No monitors. Mm-hmm. We didn't have monitors until the late 70s. No monitors. We sang, and I've got pictures. We're on key. We're on pitch. No problem.
Yeah. I was in a few different bands that we didn't have monitors.
Yeah.
And there were vocal intensive bands, like four singers singing, 3 and 4-part harmony. And we just relied on the PA system,
Yeah, that's funny, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like nowadays, everybody with their in-ear monitors, and it's like everything has to be pristine, and it's like they don't even know. You know what I mean? It's a totally different approach. They don't even know what it's like to be in the trenches like that, for years.
Because when you're home and you're practicing and you have control of everything.
Of course you do.
So you can perform much easier when everything is completely under control. On stage, sometimes you have control of nothing. And I remember being an opening act where they call it a throw and go, where you just throw the guitar and play.
Yeah, throw and go, yeah.
There's no line check, there's no nothing. Get up there, and hopefully there's a mic near you. And we would get tossed up on stage as the audience is entering. In the band, I'm up there plugging things in myself. Get off, the show starts to get up there. You find out they didn't plug in your speaker cabinet, and you just got to keep on going. I remember running behind my amp and plugging something in the middle of the show, coming back out and playing the part. So
that's amazing.
But still pulling off a decent show. So
sure,
there's always, it happens a lot where older guys like myself will tell the younger guys, well, when we were young, that's a cliche thing, but it is very true that if you can learn to do it with nothing, imagine how great it's going to be if you've got a little bit of monitor, if you've got a little bit of time to set up, if you're a little bit under control. When you can do it with nothing is under your control, man, and then imagine 10 years go by and you've got hit records and crew and a 48 channel monitor mix and all the lighting cues, and you got a person taking care of your wardrobe and getting your meals for you. Imagine how easy. People say, "Oh, life on the road must be tough." Nonsense. It's a breeze. Once you get up to the point where you paid that much dues, it's pretty easy. Probably the same. I could, in a decent tour bus, playing good venues, I could go out for years.
Absolutely. I always loved touring in a bus. I love to travel anyway, so it's fun. Right. But yeah, I mean, when you get to that level, I mean, you're not in the trenches anymore. You're not, fighting circumstances beyond your control.
Yeah. And you start to appreciate when you do have a decent tour bus what it's like, as opposed to sleeping in the back of a station wagon with one of the crew guys snoring next to you. So really appreciate it.
It's in these early building parts that you mentioned. I have a question, like follow up from what you said earlier, while you're in this answer, is so now all the popular media that people consume are the young artists or people who are just thinking of playing a certain instrument, what they consume. They are consuming mostly of that, the same thing in my room, playing things which are absolutely under my control and with the devices which are like very much advanced, and they're doing that. And the people on the other side are consuming a lot of that. So is it concerning that a future generation of musicians who or people who haven't even thought of being in music, that instead of seeing people live on stage performing and having that feel of like human bodies in a room, instead of that, everybody who is sort of growing up now is heavily consuming only that? So do you think does it concern you that it might change of what's going to happen now?
I don't think so. There is always a special thing about a group of like-minded people in a room, a large room or a small room, 8 or 10 or 80 or 100,000. Mm-hmm. To be together in a group of people that have a like mind regarding any particular thing. So you're going to see a band and everybody in that audience is a fan of that band. So you have that commonality and everybody loves that one song that they do. And so we're all together. So it's an incredible thing. And I see now the longing that people have to hear live music. I did a little birthday party recently, some of my friends, and wanted to surprise a young lady. Her name was Jenny. So it was at a drummer I know's house. And we had a guitar player who went and we did 8675309, Jenny, Jenny, who can I turn? So we did a song for her and she had tears coming out of her eyes and everybody was so excited to hear a live band again. It was amazing. So there is a real experience there, not unlike a play. Plays in New York City are hugely popular in spite of the fact that we've got a theater with computer graphics seeing the most impossible to imagine scenes in outer space and the most incredible things you can see on the screen. People still love to go to see a play because it's intimate and it's human, and it's much
a human experience. It's people long for that human contact.
And I was like, I guess, less talking about the future of live music, more about how people perceive their early education to be. Like that's kind of more what I was alluding to. Like when you're looking at a YouTuber who is just doing YouTube, like never, like you said, never played live, is not in a band, but is insanely popular, and the larger set of that crowd who's following that YouTuber is under 15 and like in middle school, high school, where they're making decisions about, should I be playing guitar? And if I should be playing guitar, should I be playing like how Francesco or Billy do it on stage in front of thousands of people, or am I playing it to, like with a false background like this? And I'm playing, and I'm playing it to just the people online. And that's because that's what I'm going to do. And that's what my definition of popularity is, which makes me thrive to do something. So yeah, that is what I was kind of more alluding to.
Well, I do also think things evolve and things change. And every new wave of something that comes in, the old wave is going, no, you can't yet. And the new wave comes in and eventually becomes popular and they go, well, and then another new wave comes in and that wave goes, no, you can't. And they repeat the same thing people said to them. When the people, this rock and roll thing, it's not gonna last. It's gonna go away. It's just a fad. It's never gonna happen. The Beatles, maybe one or two records and they'll be gone. Everybody was wrong about that. They were all wrong. So it may very well be that this new way of approaching it is the way for a whole new generation. And they will therefore come up with different ways of struggling. Just as myself and Francesco, we went through a lot of things to get to where we are. They may not be as visible, but they went through things too. And they had to learn and discipline themselves and do their thing. So it is an evolution. We may not always like what comes after us, but it's nevertheless doesn't make it illegitimate. It's a thing, and that's how they want to do it, and that may be the future of how we perform. And different criteria are now important. Fair enough. And you'll see music change as a result, and the character of the music and the composition of the music could be very different. But having said that, there are certain things that will probably always be true. You write a great song that speaks to people, no matter where you play it, on YouTube, in your backyard, at a coffee shop, at Madison Square Garden, it's going to affect people. So I think that the common denominator of all that is having something that people love, people like, people gravitate towards. If it's playing mind-blowing, sweep-picking licks at the highest humanly possible speed, okay, then your YouTube channel is going to have 10 million clicks, and good for you. But I think in the end, people really, the consumers will drive it. They're the boss. The audience is the boss, and we do what we can to reach them. And there are different ways of reaching them, but in the end, they will determine whether or not what's coming off their screen has value to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. That's a great. Francisco, you had a follow-up.
Very interesting point. I heard a song yesterday by an electronic artist who was using all electronic sounds, and it was like all these like wild, like seemingly incongruent sounds, but the song held it all together. It was pretty amazing. It was like he was playing a classic song, like say a Todd Rundgren kind of vibe, but he was using all these weird sounds, but it worked. It was one of the coolest things I've heard in a while.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so the point is the song really held it together, even though it was seemingly disjointed with all these weird electronic sounds. It was almost like Peter Gabriel, like on steroids, kind of, on kind of computerized steroids. you know, and but it really worked because the song was beautiful. The song really conveyed this message of oneness and harmony, and you know, we're going to get through this, and it was very inspirational, actually.
Right. Well, I remember first hearing Fatboy Slim, you know,
Oh
right
yeah,
Funk Soul Brother. I fell in love with that song.
yeah, that's cool.
There wasn't a real musician on the whole thing. Everything was sampled, but it was amazing. And then Prodigy was Smack My Bitch Up. I thought, this is what a great, I love that
Pretty
song.
cool. Pretty cool stuff, man.
I got into a lot of EDM stuff because it wasn't this. It was completely different. So sometimes it's great as an artist to take a left turn. Maybe I would be the other way around too. All the YouTubers might go at one point, why don't we try doing this live? That'd be amazing. So it can come from anywhere. And I remember the first time I heard a lot of real electronic music back in the late 60s. And then in the 70s was a Japanese artist named Tomita. And all these synthesizer players were doing Bach and Beethoven and stuff that were very rhythmic. And then Tomita came out and he did Claude Debussy music. And this delicate, beautiful shifting, just brilliant. To this day, I'm so glad he turned me on to Claude Debussy in a way no one else could have. And now the orchestral and piano versions of Claude Debussy music I love so much.
That's fantastic.
It's amazing to see the tides shift and change. And that's why this is a living art. Music is a living art. We're alive. It's changing. Once you do a painting, that painting is done and it sits there and it never changes. It's amazing and inspires us. But music, it's always alive. It's always
an organism. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it, really, because it's you know, it's constantly evolving, and it I think, you know, music speaks, and you have to listen, because even when you're creating, it can tell you what it needs. Like a song can tell you what it needs if you're listening, if your heart is listening. You know what I'm saying? Like your whole being is inside of it. It will tell you what it wants. You know?
Yeah, I agree 100%. The songwriting process, the music composition process is sometimes there it is. We got it. You have it. It's done. Don't touch it. Other times you have to labor at it a little bit, but it's that in itself. And I work a lot with a lot of songwriters recently, fine tuning, taking a song, bringing it in, and fine tuning it. And the secret is in the rewrite. That's a very famous saying for songwriting. You get a song and it's pretty good. Okay, now we're going to change the whole thing, and now we got a song. It's pretty great. So that's a whole other subject to talk with the whole idea of songwriting and getting lyrics to land where they're supposed to land, and making sure the lyrics aren't a pronunciation that's going to make the singer's voice choke down and go flat. There's a whole world of things like that too, and that's all just a little slice of what we have in this art called music, which really is the greatest art form, in my humble opinion.
I believe that.
So. Yeah, so people are saying hi from all over, by the way. Prague, London, Germany, and hello everybody. And
fantastic, hey, everybody. Wow, it just amazes me that we can reach all these people from around the world that we couldn't. It's so astonishing to me, and I really want to thank everybody for listening to us. Yeah, and hopefully being inspired by us, and
it's kind of our job. We really I want people to do well. I want them to do better. I want to be able to write a better song, play a better bass, do a better lyric, perform better.
Yeah,
perform relieved, perform with confidence, with optimism, with enthusiasm, or whatever emotion it calls for. I really do, and I'm sure you feel the same. I love it when people find anything of value in anything I may be able to give them. That's my payoff. We all need to get paid in cash at one point or another in order to pay the rent. But there are other forms of payment for people around the world to be able to listen to Me here in Nashville. And where are you, Francesco?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Mississippi for a while, but I mean, I've been living in Los Angeles for many years, or 20 some years.
I left there 3 years ago after.
I was just in Nashville about 6 months ago, man. I loved it there. Love it there.
Music City.
I love that place, man.
Love it. But anyway, when people get an inspiration all over the world, and I'm so happy that I'm sure you feel the same way. We've toured everywhere, and I get more email from Indonesia than any place else, from Korea, from Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, India, Pakistan, all over. And all over Europe and all over South America. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to have friends everywhere. And if we're doing anything for them to assist them, I'm very pleased about it.
Yeah.
So we'll take a couple of questions from the audience, if you will. So, York, I hope I'm saying your name right, has two questions. The first one is, hello, Billy. Do you have plans of writing an autobiography? I believe you have a whole lot of stories to tell.
Boy, do I got some stories. Yeah. Well, I'm entertaining the idea of it. A lot of people have requested, because when I was young, no one in my family was in show business, but my dad was what they call a recitationist. He would recite stories and poems, and he had amazing stories from his youth, and he would tell these stories, but tell them in an entertaining way. So I picked that up from my dad. So when I tell a story now, I'm sitting around with a bunch of people, usually there's a glass of wine involved, and we start telling some stories. It's entertaining, fun, and people say, "Oh, tell us the story about that." And they already know what the story is, but they want to hear it again. My dad was like, "Dad, tell us the story about the time," and we'd laugh all over again, like we did awesome. Again. So that ability to tell a story, I got to some degree from my dad, and so I would like to tell some of the stories, and it's a broad spectrum. Being a kid, growing up, my dogs, my cats, our minor birds, the geese, the fish, the snakes, the frogs, the toads, for discovering music, what life was like when I grew up in the 60s in a neighborhood, and some amazing times. Someday I probably will. Of course, I would get heavily weigh the emphasis on what people might know me for now, which is music, but I'd also would like to give some stories in the background. So someday, maybe.
That's awesome. So
thank you.
Thank you. And so there's one more question, and it could go to, like, I think either if you Billy, I'm recovering from a surgery of my left hand. Do you have any practice advice for me to get back in shape in terms of increasing my bass playing?
Well, anything's possible. I remember years ago, the Pope went to Mexico, decades ago, and they were filming it on television, and a kid with no arms, with his guitar laying on the ground.
I've seen that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Fretted it with his left foot and strummed it with his right foot and played guitar. Great. So, yeah, we may have physical handicaps, but there is really no limit. Coming back from a surgery or whatever, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the particulars, but I believe anything is possible. And I've seen many, many times people with a disabled or difficult time, but they're still making music. And thinking that you have to have this level of perfection as a player, or I got to play with 3 fingers, or no, it's nonsense. You play with 1 finger, or play with a pick, or play just block chords with your right hand. You've still got a universe of possibilities musically. So don't ever think that any physical incapability don't ever let it stop you. There's no limit to what you can do. I mean, and I know musicians that are completely debilitated, and they play now by blowing into a little tube and typing the notes in, and they compose.
You're talking about Jason Becker.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, man. He's incredible.
Yeah. So yeah, you may have a little tough time, but take it slow, work it back up to the level you want. But if, as Francesco and I have been talking about the importance of the song and the music, you don't need to have the most, bionic left hand to make a great song and make and entertain people and enjoy it yourself and have them enjoy it and enjoy it as well. So yeah, come back slow, do it. Be careful. Don't overdo it.
Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But anything is possible.
Thank you. I am sure Jörg appreciates that answer. I have one more question, and from Foxton. And have you ever disagreed with the track order of any of your albums? Do you feel track order changes the feel of an album, causing it to do well or not?
Well, the record you played on, Francesco, the Evanescence, that was put together so well.
Yeah, it was.
What a great record.
Yeah, Dave Fortman did a great job on the record, and I think he had something to do with the sequencing of the record as well. And he just had, Dave has great instincts, and obviously the band's very talented, so they, made the right decisions in terms of the sequencing of the record. The first song is "Bring Me to Life," and it's amazing that like for a rock record, it starts off, with a slow piano, but it's really the most dramatic. I think the most dramatic song on the record, except for another one, "Whisper." I thought was one of the best songs on the record, and that's at the end of the record. So it's very interesting how sequencing can, I think, overall affect the mood of the record. But if the songs are great, I don't think that makes a difference. Like if each song has something individual to say, I think there's that place for it anywhere. You understand? I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but "Bring Me to Life" is a strong song. It could have been it could have been the very last song, on the record in terms of sequencing, but still the song would have been a hit, and the record still would have hit.
Well, "To Be With You" is the last song on
there you go.
Into it. And
example.
We had no idea it was going to be a hit. And we said later on, if we knew it was a hit, we would have put
That's awesome. Oh my God. See, perfect example, So getting back to the point Billy made earlier, you have to make a great product or great songs. You have to make great music. And in order to do that, you have to reach inside yourself, search yourself, what you're going through, what you want to see, how you want to see the world to change, express what conflicts you're going through, because other people out there are going through the same conflicts. We're all human. We all have a human commonality that ties us together. And that's the beautiful thing about music. It brings us inexorably closer, and it brings us to this collective evolution, if you will,
yeah,
that we need to go through.
Well said. Very nice.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, Francesco. So I'll take one more question from the audience. So you're saying, over the years, were there any Mr. Big songs that are not released and they'll be released at some point later? Sort of bootleg.
We've scraped the bottom of the barrel pretty. They're all out there. Even we've even put out some of the demos of some of the songs we've done. So there's a lot out there. There's not easy to find it all, but it's all been released one way or the other. So there's nothing really left. So we're very fortunate. The Japanese label always wants to have. Can you give us a collection of songs no one's ever heard? So send them the demos of songs, and you can hear how they changed from the demo version to the final. But there's nothing. There's no secret songs sitting around that we're sitting on. We would have put it out by now.
I love that band, by the way. I love Mr. Big. Who is that?
That's me. Russ, I'll call you right back.
Okay.
Sorry,
I
guys.
love that xylophone ring, man.
It's
That's a
the
good
old,
rhythm.
it's
I
the
love
old
that
Nokia,
rhythm.
it's the old Nokia tone. I had the same ringtone, so I was looking at my computer and here because it rings every.
Who's the idiot that has their? Oh, it's me. I apologize
like
to Planet Earth.
absolutely like I started looking at all like because it's Apple, like all devices ring at the same time. So and it's the same exact ringtone. So I was like, okay, no.
I just want to ask Billy a couple of questions about his technique. I know, like, people ask you all the time, but I'm sure there's people out there that want to know how you developed your 3-finger, 4-finger. You use 4 fingers, right?
Well, I am using 4 now. I actually kind of gravitated to it.
Insane, dude. It's insane.
So sometimes,
You know, so how did you do that, or what inspired you to do that?
well, it just kind of came naturally when I heard Tim Bogert play.
Tim Bogert, man.
We lost him recently. He's a dear friend.
Oh
too.
man, I just heard about that, man. He was one of my teachers at MI too, man, and always one of my favorite players. Yeah.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Oh,
So,
great.
it just kind of came after a while. I just realized that I found out recently that probably the greatest bass player that you've never heard of, maybe you have heard of him, was really one of the greatest players that ever lived. And his name was Niels Henning Orsted Pedersen.
Oh, yeah, I just heard that guy, the upright player, man, right?
He passed away, I think, in 2005.
Oh, killer, yeah.
And he was a stand-up player, but he did the same thing that I'm doing. I didn't realize it, but it just goes to show that logically, when people come up with the same thing around the world without knowing about each other,
Right.
it shows that there's some logic, some reason for it. So the 3 fingers, and generally these are your 3 strongest fingers, the little guys here. I mean, I'm sneaking them in there. So on occasion, I'm getting them in there.
That's awesome.
But generally 3 fingers, and you don't want it to sound like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You want it to sound like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it really has. You have an incredible continuity with that. It's super sweet.
And I still work on it. I'll sit there sometimes and just because how hard your calluses are affects the tone. So if one is a little soft, that one note's going to jump out, and it's an endless adventure and an endless quest to get it better and righteous, and the sequence.
Yeah,
When I'm playing something like a I'm always going in that direction.
That's wild. It almost seems like there's a circular motion to it.
Very
in
much.
your right hand.
It's always that direction.
Yeah, it's
Now,
like this
I saw a guy on Instagram.
sequence.
Lately.
What's the sequence? What's the sequence you're using?
Ring, middle, index, and then it repeats. Ignore this finger. He's just moving around there. This guy.
Yeah.
Obscuring everything. But so if it was 4 fingers, you see how naturally your hand moves like that? Some guys think you should go back and forth. It's not natural. If you're sitting there, that's a natural thing your fingers do.
Yeah.
Sitting there tapping them. So why not utilize how they naturally go? I saw a guy recently on Instagram telling people that, no, that Billy Sheehan technique, this one's better. Well, let's go back and forth. And I just know from experience that's a less efficient way of doing it. When I go, that's about as quick and together the other way. Much easier, much smoother to do it. So sometimes you see the blind leading the blind when they haven't thought it through. But when I found out about Neil Henning Orsted Pedersen, he on a stand-up bass, he's doing those 3 fingers just like that. And if you go look for him on YouTube, prepare to have your mind blown.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, I didn't notice he was using 3 fingers though in the plucking hand. Yeah.
And Jocko is famous for doing Donna Lee. That kind of jazz tune. I think it's a Charlie Parker.
Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15 years before that came out, Neil is doing it on a stand-up with Joe Pass, blazing.
Oh, that's insane.
And the stand-up is like a mandolin to him. He's ripping into the thing. Mind-blowing. But he was a 3-finger player, played exactly like that.
I didn't notice that. I thought he was using 2 fingers. Very interesting.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But the point is it does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a logical way. If you play with 1 finger, God bless you, make $1 million, have a hit record, that's great. 2, that's cool. 3, fine, with a pick, thumb slappers, whatever. You know
what's funny is that Geddy Lee started using 1 finger doing this.
I did the same when I was a kid.
I was just like, what is he doing? And he was one of my big influences when I was a kid. I still, he's a fantastic player. And what's that?
No, the guys in Russia are some of the finest people.
Oh God, I just love that band. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. I learned so much stuff from them. Beyond music, But he always seemed to use 2 fingers, and then in the last few years, he's like doing this.
Yeah.
And like, how the hell is he getting that sound with 1 finger? It's just, it must have something to do with his rig too, like, being very sensitive, and I'm sure he uses like preamps that are similar to yours, and as far as the gain staging is concerned.
Yeah, it's a push and pull, you and your gear and how it works back and forth, as you know. I'm not telling you don't know, of course. But.
By the way, your bass, really quickly, are you using a multiple output setup? Is it 1 output per string?
2 pickups.
Right.
Each has its own output. The 1 pickup is all high frequency, not much low end at all. But I get all the articulation. Now, if I did that on the low pickup, I'm not even sure what the notes are, add them together, you get just like your stereo speaker has a whisper tweeter. When you separate those frequencies, one can do it without being impeded by the other.
Sure. That's the way the old modular systems used to work too, in concert sound.
Yeah.
We used to have high, mids, and lows, and they were dedicated. The speakers were dedicated to those frequency ranges.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
And it's not.
Doug Pinnick kind of does that too, doesn't he?
He may. I'm not sure exactly, but Doug, he's got and the whole idea of it is because if you want a nice distorted sound that they get, there's usually no low end on that, because when you distort it, you don't get any lows.
Right.
But if you have a separate amp with a separate pickup, so you can get
super
the
cool.
articulation, the harmonics, and all that.
And
it came from playing in a 3-piece band without a rhythm guitar player or without a keyboard player, and we wanted to do copy tunes of bands that had more guys. So with that extra amp, kind of made up for the lack of that.
Yeah,
so,
a lot more harmonic information. Sure.
Yeah. So we could do.
Love that song, man. I love that tune, man. Oh.
I could do a little keyboard stint.
Oh yeah, man. What kind of preamps are you using?
Right now, I'm plugged into a Helix, and I modeled my original Pierce
The
preamp.
Pierce preamp.
Dan
Yeah.
Pierce made for me in about 1979.
Mm-hmm.
That was my main sound source for almost everything. And carrying it around on tour and checking it as luggage got pretty precarious. So the Line 6 people were kind of take that preamp and do an extensive modeling.
Right. Well, now that we have modeling technology, it's much easier. You get, your analog tones. But back in the day, what were you using as far as the power amp stage and speakers?
I did all Pro Audio, JBL speakers and cabinets, and BGW power amps. They were the big,
killer. Yeah, killer.
And all Pro Audio. And
very heavy though. Very heavy.
Oh yeah. My crew guys hated me. So.
Oh, here he comes again. We gotta move this stuff.
Now what?
I just wanted to say, like, we're getting close to the hour, so just wanted to be cognizant of your time. I have a question based on the two things that you, Francesco, just asked, and I wanted to ask this right from the start, but I lost track. This is all great conversation, so any question is a great question. You are an inventor too, like you tinker and you invent quite a few things. What's your favorite invention so far? Like what's your?
Well, I have my new see them around. Let me jump in. I'll show it to you. Hold on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
It's coming. We got my 30-year anniversary Attitude bass.
That's killer.
Oh, look at that.
That's killer, man.
Mimicking that bass right there.
Is that's one of your models?
Yeah.
Billy?
This bass back here was the original P bass.
Oh, killer, man.
That I got in '68. So
that's badass.
In tribute, we did the Yamaha bass to look like it. And
Cool.
But the pickups we use that just were replaced, I worked with Larry DiMarzio, and we came up with you'll see how there's a curved surface.
Yeah.
Pickups. That's so that they match the radius of the neck.
Yeah. My Kiesel bass is like that, man. It's got that matched radius to the neck.
Huge difference.
Very cool.
So and it has a few other aspects of it too. It's covered in a sheet nickel, a metal covering, and nickel is non-magnetic, so it will shield it because it conducts electricity, but it won't interfere with the magnets. So with together with Larry DiMarzio, we developed this pickup, and we're actually it's getting a patent application on it now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, nice.
So why are you using a nickel covering to it? Does it help the conductivity?
It shields it against any radio frequency interference.
Oh, so they're single coils, right? Is that a single?
Yeah. And it's they're dead quiet. They're really loud. A lot of people think when I plug this in, they think, well, it's an active bass, right? I go, no battery in here. So
that's badass, man. So does it increase the output of that particular pickup?
They're hot. They're a very hot pickup.
But they're passive. They're passive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very, very hot.
Very cool, man.
So there's that, and I have I got a couple other things. I've invented a few things and never did anything, and somebody else made it.
Oh no way!
What was that?
Can you share?
I had an idea. I was going to do a little screen with LEDs on it for the back window of your car. This is in the 70s. That would say, because all you have is your two blinkers and your brake lights. You can't tell anybody behind you you're parking, or your brights are on, or you're driving too close. So it's going to have like 8 or 10 pre-programmed messages. You can hit a button on your dashboard, and the sign would say,
oh, that's cool.
Like if you're turning to get into a lane, you could say please, and when you get in there, hit the thank you button. So the guy behind you can see it. And I worked on it. I had boxes, and I'm drilling holes, and I'm putting LEDs in, and I was busy with the band. I gave up on it. I'm on tour on the Eat 'em and Smile tour. I think we're in Vancouver, and walking down the street, there it is. So, a little thing to press a button for exactly.
There goes my retirement.
It's gone.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks for that.
That's fantastic. So, one more question about your basses, bro. So,
Sure.
yeah, give me one second.
That was my question, actually. So please go ahead.
All right. Are all the fingerboards scalloped?
Just these top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, if I get it close to the
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool.
scallop away. Now, quite frankly, it's not an essential thing. I did it on my original old bass that I showed you a minute ago, only because we're on tour, and I'd seen it before Yngwie, but John McLaughlin did it back in the Mahavishnu Orchestra days, 70s. But on a guitar, it's different because you can remove the wood from in between the frets, the whole neck. The guitar doesn't have the kind of pressure on the neck as a bass does. So I didn't want to lose that much wood. So I just got them out of there. And the purpose of it is kind of so you can bend that note.
Oh, that bass has a sick tone, man.
Really get underneath it to push it, because bass strings, of course, are bend. So when they did these basses, they put what I did on the old bass on this. And again, it's not a real necessary thing. You can still bend the note without it, but it's kind of a cool little thing on there. And
Is this red one your newest?
No, this is actually one of the older ones. We did a brief production of the red color. This was version 2 in red. Version 1, 2, and 3. The one I just held up here is a 3. But and the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets are smaller fret wire too. So,
oh, really? What's the reason for that? Just to get
tighter intonation. There's less surface for that string to land on, so it's more likely to be in the middle and be in correct tuning. Because a lot of people on a bass, it's hard to get those super high notes in tune. So that helps a tiny bit, not that much. So we incorporated all the things I changed back in the old days on my old P bass. We incorporated them all into this. The neck is the same, is modeled after the 1968 Telecaster bass neck.
That's very cool. Yeah.
That thing.
Super.
This is basically the EBO pickup and the P bass pickup and the 2 outputs. Pretty simple. But it's been very successful, and there's a Facebook page for the Yamaha Attitude bass, and everybody goes on there and
cool, man.
Exchanges ideas.
I'd love to get one of those, man.
Let's talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Get in touch with me.
Okay, cool.
And so there are a few people asking about the bass itself. So yeah, you could go to the Facebook page that Billy mentioned for Yamaha Attitude Bass, and you can totally check out more stuff on that. And I think it's been over an hour. Like I said, I would rather take some time off of this and come back later at some point of time than burn you out to never see like you don't never see us again. So
yeah, we'll do it again sometime. It's the same thing. Myself and Francesco will get on here again sometime, and
that's great, man.
People would like that. I'd be happy to do it.
Awesome.
This has been amazing, and like I said, I definitely want to have this back again, and I'll reach out to you, Billy. Thanks for the time. And one last question: what should people and in the chat and people who are watching, what is the next thing that they're looking forward to from Billy Sheehan?
Well, that's the guy who called. He's mixing the brand new Talas album. My old band Talas from Buffalo. We got the guys together and did
Oh, that's killer.
Did the songs we never recorded back in the day.
That's badass.
And it's coming out pretty soon. That'll be cool.
Man.
And,
awesome.
we're very excited about it. And just go to my Facebook or Instagram, or you can go to my website and click email me. It comes to me personally. I don't have anybody answering mail for me.
On your Facebook?
Yeah.
Cool.
You can find me. Everybody out there that happens to be listening, I'm easy to find. Feel free to drop. And I can't always do long, elaborate answers, but at least I'll read it and I'll respond when I can. And also my new YouTube channel, I've got a thing where I'm talking a little bit about what you can do to your bass to make it play better, how to put these pickups on, those DiMarzios, how I make my straps and things like that.
Oh, by the way, I love that. I in my mind, I made a mental note to call them garage sessions. So those are amazing.
So we did them all in the garage except for one day it was too cold, so we had to go inside.
Yeah, so that's been, I guess, like quite a bit of those in the last year that you've done. Those sessions are like pretty engaging, and yeah, they're amazing. So thanks for sharing that with everybody. And that's like that knowledge is gold. Yeah.
Right, wonderful,
cool. So again,
thanks for having me on, and thanks for having me on with Francesco. I got a chance to.
It's my pleasure, man.
Reconnect. So please drop me a line, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
From here.
I'll introduce you. Like I have the email, so I'll introduce
Great.
you.
Thank you.
How do you like living in Nashville, by the way?
We love it. It's
I
love LA. I was there for 32 years, but as you know, things are getting difficult there, and the crime and homeless and the taxes are tough. So
it's terrible, man. It's like living in a mental hospital. Out here, it's bad.
Well, my wife is a real estate agent. If you need any help, drop me a line.
Oh yeah. Actually, a mutual friend connected us via text message, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember, because I met her at NAMM with you a few years ago, and she remembered. And
yeah. She's been relocating a lot of LA friends here. So
yeah. Well, Sykes was thinking about moving out there a few months ago. Yeah, and I mean, we talk all the time. You know,
give him my best, please.
Oh, I will. He's a great guy, man. He's a great guy. Really fantastic musician. You know.
Brilliant.
Yeah. But man, great to talk with you, man. Really a pleasure.
My pleasure. And thanks everyone who has been watching and listening. Again, and it was feel free to get in touch with me. And Francesco, we'll talk very soon. And Sass, thank you very much for putting this together.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, Francesco.
I'll be doing a show tonight on the Creative Exchange at 7 p.m. So, anybody watching, please tune in. I'm going to be playing and singing some of my favorite tunes. I just
beautiful,
just music I love, So,
Sass, send me a link to that. I might want to tune in myself.
Oh man!
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll do that right after this call.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
man.
I think the people who are watching just below the live stream, there is a banner coming up, which actually you can just click on the button there and you'll attend that. So we just started doing that, by the way, Francesco. So you can do that, and you're already seeing the event show up. So yeah, we'll see everybody on there.